thank you all very much for dialing in and taking the time on this wet Monday evening to the first day trading update and what we're all about in regards to European Green Transition PLC. I see, well, just looking at the numbers, there's quite a few hundred online tonight. Obviously, it's not a sunny April night. It's rainy. It's all sunny. I'm sure you'd have better things to do than hear me and the team. But all joking aside, this is the first day of trading. We are keen to update people. And the most important people here tonight are those who wrote a check in recent weeks and also bought today. And glad to say we're up 11.5%. So that's a pretty good start. Our shares were issued at 10p and 11.25% to be exact. And the shares finished today at 11.25%. So that's a good start. Guide the market. People only invest in small cap companies such as these, not for 5 or 10% per annum, but for a double or triple. If you want your 5 or 10%, you buy the big Pfizers and the big large companies. And a balanced, well-balanced portfolio should include some stocks such as this, where you have a chance of doubling or tripling your money on an annualized basis. This is my 5th IPO. In the 4 previous ones, we did produce returns such as, so I'd say, delighted. It's always nice. It's always a bit embarrassing if you do your first day of trading and it's flat, and God forbid it goes down. The first day of trading is the one thing everybody talks about in weeks and months and years to come. So we're off. As I say, the race is up and running, but the race only starts with the completion of the IPO. In summary, what are we doing? Look, as the deck here in front of you, we're operating in the European green economy transition. As you'll see, a picture says 1,000 words. We're in the wind farm business. We'll be in the solar panel business. And at the bottom, anything in that EV supply chain. And also on the right-hand side, that's weird. It could be my children's artwork on the right-hand side. That's rare earths deposits. We've got rare earth assets in Sweden, and we're expecting them to be the first rare earths assets to be commercialized in Europe. Europe is massively dependent on China for all of its rare earths. And those wind turbines at the top, every one of those wind turbines, everywhere in the world, requires at least half a ton of rare earths, the onshore ones. The offshore wind turbines, believe it or not, need several tons. So it's a bloody good business, man. Europe did get a fright, as we all know, during the pandemic. We were dependent on China for PPEs. And then on the Ukrainian invasion, Europe got an even bigger fright. There was total dependency on Russian gas. Europe does take time to move, but it is moving. It's like a super tank is moving fast. And Europe is very definitely becoming independent on things like PPE, energy, and certainly Europe does not want to be held ransom. Not saying the Chinese will hold us at ransom, but for those wind turbines or anything else. So yeah, it's a good space. Rosie, we might go to the first proper summary slide, if that's okay. Okay, the overview slide. What do we see? We see a substantial opportunity. Now, some of our existing investors here who I know came in during the roadshow. The roadshow, unfortunately, was limited to high net worths. I know we have a lot of retail investors on tonight who are looking to buy shares today and tomorrow. So bear with me if you've seen some of this presentation already. We won't take too long, maximum 30 minutes, followed by 15 minutes Q&A. So by 6:45, we'll have everybody back to their homes, whatever. So really, we see a substantial opportunity to build sustainable and profitable business in the European economic or economy transition. Sustainable, it's a good space to be in. But every business, my 4 previous, this is my 5th IPO, we have to have revenue in year 1. So we're not a mining company. Mining companies don't have revenues in year 1. And we have profitability in year 2. That is carte blanche and impenetrable, unchangeable code we have. So revenue this year and profits EBITDAs next year. Huge opportunities. We know that. The world is massively dependent on hydrocarbons. They're finite. That wind will always blow. In thousands of years, the wind will be blowing when we're all long gone. And then millions of years, that sun will be still shining for us all. So that's why they say it's renewable. It's infinite resource. The gas and the oil will eventually run out. And unfortunately, the gas and the oil is warming up the environment and making this world a little too warm. So the whole green and renewables means it's almost perpetual. It's an endless supply of sun and wind. So as Europe transitions, it's almost like with a free energy once you put in that capital investment. I emphasize we're not a mining company, despite having some initial mining assets. I know some people are concerned, Cathal, are you mining? No. For any mining activities, such as those rare earths in Sweden, we'll always bring in the major player with the skills, the expertise, and the balance sheets who can do it and who've done it before. Small companies like us need to be fast moving and nimble. That's every one of my previous 4 IPOs. Move fast. I'm not saying we're copying the tech bros, the Facebook people, move fast and break things. We don't actually like breaking things. We like making things. But moving fast is what we're all about. We've even had, actually to our surprise, recently some of the Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds contact us and approach us saying that they already own the black gold, i.e. the oil and gas, and they'd now like to talk to us about owning some of the European green gold, i.e. the sovereign wealth funds now looking to get portfolios of assets in Europe of green assets. So that's a very, very cheerful and supportive, especially for myself. Again, all my IPOs I put in, I'm usually the largest. I am the largest single investor in this company. Some of the first deals that we may or hopefully will announce in the weeks and months ahead will include the consolidation of the European e-waste sector. This sector is very much currently a mom and pop industry. But as you go home tonight, every house is almost a mini gold mine. How many old discarded phones are lying around? How many old laptops, desktops, flashlights, all of those things have a mini gold mine of critical metals. The European Critical Metals Act just came into reality in the last couple of weeks, say that 25% of those things must be recycled in Europe. That's a clear area. Another area, just about reality, I'm from the far northwest of Ireland. My kids call it Shrekland, the land from far, far away in Donegal. But believe it or not, we're in discussions with a range of farmers up there, the west coast of Ireland, Mayo and Sligo and Galway. And there's huge grant aid now from the EU to protect those carbon sinks as bogland. And we're looking to manage those on behalf of farmers. Very low capital intensity. Individual farmers can't do it, and we can generate hugely valuable carbon credits. So again, people are worried about being a miner. We're absolutely not a miner. We do have mining assets, but we're mining carbon credits, to be a nice way of putting it. We're also looking to distress solar and distress wind assets. That's, look, being honest, my forte. All my previous IPOs, I've been quite good. I spent 10, 12 years as an investment banker. And when you spend so long buying and selling assets, you realize some of the best assets in the world are ones that are over leveraged or in distress. I have a rule: if we're buying an asset, try and pay no more than 10 pence on the invested pound or 10 cents on the invested dollar or euro. If you can buy it at a 90% discount to what the last guy paid for these assets, then you know you're doing well. The European Green team have a strong record of success and plan to repeat this formula as we go forward. A couple of very quick examples before I hand over to the team now of where we've made a lot of shareholder money in the past. Cove Energy, our co-founder and second largest shareholder after myself, Michael Nolan, actually co-founded this company. I did help bring it to the stock exchange. I did a lot of advisory work. I rented them an office. And this is what got me into the small cap space. But in 2009, Cove IPO'd in London, way less than where we are today at 1 million. It acquired Artemis Group that went into administration. And 33 months later, 1 million was sold for 1.9 billion. That was over 100x uplift. Now, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity. But again, only on the AIM London Stock Exchange do you find things like that. Amrit Pharma, there's one very close to my heart. I was very clearly the co-founder along with Joe Wiley. We IPO'd that for substantially less than 50 million. We acquired the assets of Birken in Germany, where Peter Schnell had invested 56 million. And again, I broke my rule there and spent 10p in invested pound. We paid substantially, we paid about 2p in investment. We offered Peter 1 million euros, despite him having invested 56. He got equity in the vehicle. We like sharing the upside. And then 2 years later, we acquired Algerian in the States. It was 800 million invested. We put it into Chapter 11, put the lot together, and Amber was sold for 1.48 billion last year. That was not 100x because we acquired a lot of assets, but it was 5 to 6 times uplift. Not bad for 5 years. The one that's really close to my heart and is almost we plan to replicate it was Open Orphan. We changed its name recently to HVivo, but HVivo is Open Orphan. We IPO'd it in 2019 for 14 million, almost identical what we did today. We started the day at a market cap of 14. Pre-money was 8 of Open Orphan. We raised 6.4. Isn't that amusing? And quickly we acquired Venn for 4 million. All paper. We didn't pay cash for it. We don't like parting with cash. And Venn had been trading at over 30 million in a year or two previously. We rapidly, moving fast, acquired HVivo, which was listed in London. It had 150 million cash invested in the 2 years prior to our acquisition in 2019. That was real cash invested by Neil Woodford, Invesco, and the IP Group. Again, sticking to the maximum of 10% of previous invested cash. We got it for 13 million, despite 150 million within. Combined the two of them, and HVivo again is printing money. Market cap well north of 200 million, 40 million in the bank. And last year I got a published talk too much about tomorrow, but we had pretty spectacular results for HVivo last year. So that's kind of this where we're going. The big focus on creating shareholder value and alignment, because we try and keep the management team, you see here the presenting team, on very modest to low salaries. I myself, I'm on a monster salary, as I always do, 25,000, despite me being almost quasi full-time. Not quite full-time. I've got to run both pool bag in this company, but 50% of my time on a long day is dedicated to this company. But my real one is in all these companies. I'm kind of copying the tech guys in the States, going on a nominal salary, and put my money where my mouth is. I earn my money on the uplift in the shareholder value. I'll be the last person to sell. It's usually 5-6 years down the road, but I would like to make a lot of money for our shareholders go along. Aiden is up in, he's back on the road, up working on our assets in Sweden today. So maybe you might give us a bit of a background, and then we'll come into slides in a couple of moments.
Okay, thank you very much, Cathal, and thank you all for joining us this evening on this first day of trading. It's been a great result, and we look forward to providing and returning shareholder value in the months and years ahead. So for those of you who may not have come across me before, my name is Aiden Lavelle. I am the CEO, and I am a chartered geologist. I bring technical experience to the board, and to complement the M&A and business experience that's already here. So I've spent most of my career to date working in AIM companies. I started out with Stratex International back in 2010, worked in East Africa. I've then worked in Ireland, helped set up a company called Eris Resources. That company is now known as Zinwald Lithium PLC. But importantly, when I worked there, I spent 4 years in Sweden guiding a strategic alliance with Centerra Gold. So I have a lot of operational experience on the ground here in Sweden, and that's where our lead asset is in the current portfolio, the Ulsterum rare earth project. And it's great to have the tedious work of listing the company behind us now, so that allows us to focus on getting on with the work and running the company. And I've been on the ground today with the team. They've showing me what they've found. So there's some very interesting mineralization being discovered on the project. And more importantly, this week we actually have 2 things happening. We have the Swedish Geological Survey coming to site to learn what we've discovered over the past year or 2 working here. We've made a lot of progress. It's actually got the attention of the Swedish Geological Survey, who are now planning a major mapping program in the region, because the Ulsterum project is now designated a national interest project. Secondly, this week we have a community meeting planned for Wednesday night. So we have a policy of keeping the stakeholders in the area up to date. We have full transparency, so they know exactly what we're doing and where we are operating. And we will have another meeting on Wednesday of this week. That follows a very successful meeting we had earlier last September. And we were very pleased with the attendance and the support we got at that. So I'll talk a bit more about the Ulsterum project later on. I will let Jack introduce himself now. and he'll bring you through the next few slides.
Thanks, Aiden, and good evening to everyone. So my name is Jack Kelly. I'm the CFO. I'm a chartered accountant by background. Previously worked in PwC Ireland's M&A team, working with Irish and international businesses on M&A transactions and fundraisings. About 3 years ago, I left PwC and joined Raglan Capital and Cathal Friel to work across a number of small cap AIM-listed public companies, including Poolbeg Pharma PLC and hVivo PLC. And in that time, I've been working very closely with the CFOs of both businesses on all things capital markets, investor relations, M&A strategy, and a number of other things. In that time as well, I've helped put together the European Green Transition Vehicle that we've been developing over the last number of years. I've helped bring in some of the pre-IPO financing and help bring together the existing green economy assets we currently have within the company. So if we just move over to the next slide, I can quickly talk you through our current European portfolio, which we've developed over the last 2 years. And this includes high quality projects located in the center of Europe's EV and green economy industry. So if you look over the top left box, our lead assets. So this is the Alstom rare earth project. Aiden is currently on site. I'm going on site tomorrow. I'm flying tomorrow morning. And this is a hugely exciting project, and we see that it has the potential to be the first commercial stage rare earth element mine in Europe. And the other projects we currently have within the company, in northern Sweden, we have the Pajala copper and graphite project. So this is a copper target with multiple intersections. It has graphite values in line with the highest grade graphite in the world, and this project was previously owned by Anglo-American. So again, a very high potential project that we currently have within the company. The final project, then the bottom left, is in Saxony in Germany. It's a critical mineral project, and it covers 2 large licenses, and it has similar geology to Cornwall. So it has potential for deep lithium deposits, and quite a bit of money has gone into that space. And again, we see huge potential there. So I think Cathal has mentioned that we're looking to add further green economy assets to the company. And you'll see down the bottom that we're actively in discussions to acquire a broad range of attractive green economy opportunities. So this includes solar projects, wind projects, rehabilitation projects, processing e-waste, Cathal highlighted in particular, and then a number of critical mineral projects. So a wide range of projects across the entire green economy in Europe. So if I just take you over to the next slide to discuss, our M&A model and how we ultimately do this. So I suppose the key features here are, we were looking to acquire green economy assets, and specifically distressed and undervalued assets for a fraction of the capital that's been invested. So we bring them into the company, we de-risk them, we improve them operationally, and this is something we have a track record of doing in the public markets. And then ultimately we get to a stage where we have a sustainable, profitable business, and then monetize some of the assets along the way with a cash upfront and retain a carried interest in these green economy assets through maybe a royalty. So I suppose how we're going to do that. So we've identified a number of attractive green economy assets. So these are the assets sitting on the balance sheet of cash-strapped AIM, TSX, ASX listed companies across a range of private companies. And this is across the entire green economy. So wind, solar, recycling, processing, rehabilitation. And as Cathal mentioned, our goal is to acquire these assets for a fraction of the capital invested. So 10p in the invested pound or less if we can. So the projects we are looking at, they're typically good projects. They're just unable to raise sufficient cash. So they need a new team, they need a new story. And we think we can bring that to them with European Green Transition. So a crucial criteria for us is to complete asset acquisitions. So we want to have control over the asset. We won't be looking to make equity investments in other people's business. Control is the key word for us, so we can then determine the direction and how we ultimately deliver value to shareholders. So with structured deals, great thing about being a public company, we can do a small upfront with a cash and or equity component, and then tie future payments to project milestone achievements down the line. So your typical earn-out style deal. So as I mentioned, we bring these projects in, we de-risk them, through cost-effective, low capex activity. So that's a crucial point. So for major projects here, we'll look to bring in larger partners. So we won't be ever looking to, independently develop a mine or raise hundreds of millions to do that. We'll bring in the bigger players who have the required expertise, skills, but most importantly, the balance sheet to be able to do this. So we'll be looking to partner or sell, for instance, our Alstom rare earth asset. And then ultimately with the goal of building a sustainable, profitable, green economy focused business, while also being very deal active and monetizing a number of these assets along the way. So if I just turn to the next slide, I guess this is why we're doing it. So Cathal touched earlier that, Europe is finally taking action to ensure they have security of supply and energy security, particularly after a number of events like COVID-19 and the Ukraine war. So as a result, the key focus in Europe in the last few years has been the European Critical Raw Material Act. And this is creating transformational change in Europe to address supply shortages. Rare earths in particular are a key focus. And I see Ursula von der Leyen as mentioned here, that our demand for rare earths alone will increase fivefold by 2030. So we think the Alstom rare earth asset is ideally located with that respect. And as part of this Critical Raw Materials Act, a number of key objectives have come in within Europe to ensure they have that security of supply around extraction, external sourcing, so making sure a certain number or quantity of resources are sourced from within the EU, refining and processing, and then recycling, again, which is a key focus area. So, as a result, we think this is a really, really hugely exciting time to be operating in the green economy in Europe. And we see huge opportunity to really drive the business forward in this space. So I'll turn over to the next slide. I think Aiden can talk us through our lead Alstom rare earth project.
Okay, thank you, Jack. So Alstom is really well located. It is located in South Sweden. It's 100% owned by the company. And in May of last year, as I mentioned, it was designated a project of national interest by the Swedish Geological Survey. So what that means is the historic resource that is at Alstom is recognized as being important. It is one of a handful of rare earth resources in Europe, one of the lead assets in Sweden. And also this designation means that it should be protected for society for potential future exploitation. So it's really well located. You can drive right to the project, to the deposit. It's located within 1.5 kilometers of a main road, within 700 meters of a railway, and it's excellent access. And Sweden is a top tier mining jurisdiction, one of the best in Europe. So it's a very easy place to operate for us. And one of the key things here is that the historic work was quite extensive, done back in 2003 and 4 mainly, when the bulk of the work was done. But it was very much focused on the actual resource itself. And there's a total of 36 historic diamond drill holes there. And that drilling identified broad mineralized zones which surround high-grade shear zones. But in fact, the work was never, the company previously never stepped back and looked at the bigger potential for this project. So since we acquired the project, we've actually relogged all the historic core. We've done mapping, rock chip sampling, channel sampling, ground magnetic surveys. We've come up with a completely new exploration model, and that has been very successful in identifying more mineralized areas, both close to the resource and up to 4 kilometers away. So we now have a target that has increased in size from the original 400 meters around the deposit to what is now a multi-kilometer mineralized shear zone district. And we're finding new targets all the time. So just west of the resource, we have the Berseman West target, and that has never been drilled, but we have identified a large area of alteration and mineralization. And we'll show you a little video of that in a minute. But just to mention that further northwest at Djupedal, we have some very exciting new targets. I was on the ground actually today with the team. We've discovered some very nice coarse mineralization up there. So we get very coarse rare earth phosphates in biotite and magnetite altered wall rock. So we see post IPO now we are looking at a drill program in August to test all these new targets and show that this system has much more potential and also potential for higher grade. And so we plan to expand on the resource estimate later in the year. A key thing that we're doing this week, as I mentioned, is also updating the community with another community meeting. That follows on a very positive meeting we had earlier last September. And we've also been engaging with some local political representatives, and we're seeing some very good support. And we're very pleased with the level of support we're seeing in the area for the project. So we'll bring you on to a little video that was taken by one of our project geologists on site, and I'll let that roll now.
So these are our big monozoites on the edge of the outcrop that we knew were here, down the very western end of the western extension. We came along here, we had, remember, these bands of monozoite through the outcrop, and we sampled from this edge, which is a long strike from those big zones, all the way across. It's 12 meters of sampling, and a lot of it looks either to be BMRW, has disseminated mineralization in it, and some disseminated bands as well of monozoite nearly throughout the entire thing. So you're looking at BMR to BMRW, nearly all of it's mineralized, and it's 12 meters across the outcrop.
And so this is a new target that you see here that we've outlined at at Jupiter and Ulstrom West. So this is an example of channel sampling, and it shows a nice systematic sample that's cut across the bedrock. And the guys there are bagging up the samples, and you can also see that they have to carry in water just to cool the saw. And when they cut the channels, they actually use a chisel to take it out. And you can see they're actually breaking chisels trying to get that out. But anyway, this is really encouraging, and this target has never been drilled. So we look forward to drilling this, and our geologists are very excited about this and the other targets they've discovered in the region around the Ulstrom deposit. So we see a lot of upside now for this project. And the access is excellent. This is a commercial forestry area. Some of the trees have been recently felled by the forestry company. So this is a really logistically easy project for us to advance with. And so that's really sums up Ulstrom, and we see a lot of news flow coming out of this project over the coming months, while we also look at other M&A opportunities, which is a key aspect of our business model. So just to move on to the next slide and just discuss briefly what are rare earths. So they are very crucial for EV motors and for wind turbine motors. So they play a large part in the green energy transition, and they are especially for wind turbines. So they're used extensively across the wind energy. And a standard onshore turbine has up to 250 kilograms or more of rare earth elements. But when you move to the much larger offshore wind turbines, you could be talking about up to 2 tons of rare earths going into those. And so we see huge demand in the future, and a market that is forecast to grow from 9 billion up to 21 billion over the next 10 years. And the EU is entirely dependent on China for both supply and processing of rare earth elements. So I think that brings us on to the next slide, which is one of the reasons we are so optimistic about Ulstrom and its place in Europe with regard to rare earths and the processing which is developing. So Europe's critical metal processing infrastructure is expanding, and there are several plants now planned for the EU. So if you look across on this map on the slide, that you'll see Ulstrom located in South Sweden. So looking east across the Baltic Sea to Estonia, you see a company called Neo Performance Materials there, and these are developing sintered rare earth magnets and importing all of their feedstock from outside of Europe. So they import mixed rare earth carbonate from China, from Australia, North America. And similarly, there's another company called Retech in Norway, and this is a company that has had a successful demonstration plant and is now moving to the construction of a much larger facility, a refinery again, that is totally reliant on imports into Europe for its feed material. And down in France as well, we have another company called Solvay, which actually announced an MOU and is joining forces with another French company called Kerstar, and they are also moving into supplying magnet materials for the green energy transition in Europe. But again, there's not a single rare earth deposit in Europe, So we see Alstrom as having great potential in the future to supply some of these. So I think with that, we'll hand back to Cathal to wrap it up, and also we can move on to some questions then.
Better unmute myself. So Aiden, thank you very much. That was brilliant. Bang on. Hopefully we run things by the numbers. Bang on 30 minutes. We say we'd do it in 30 minutes. So there we go. 30 minutes, 27 seconds. Anyway, the summary is, as hopefully you hear tonight, like I've never been more excited in all my life to be involved. This is my 5th IPO. Hopefully it'll be the biggest and most successful one, because we see a huge opportunity for the green economy assets throughout Europe. The money is moving there. It's almost like a tidal wave. So let's get on and surf that wave. We have a proven team and a track record of generating value. We like to make the money go a long way. Aiden traveled up, Aiden, when you traveled up in Saturday, I think it was, he went to Sweden. So we don't hop in business class flights. Business class flights are banned in every organization I am. So Aiden and the team headed up, and look, we're keen to generate value. We've identified a range of distressed acquisition opportunities. We all know too much debt in a lot of these solar and wind farm projects when debt was free a few years ago. And that's when the opportunities arise for us. We have a very flexible financial model with a low committed spend in CapEx. I don't like getting involved in the business and committing your money and my money to projects we don't know. We'll add the money as we see things working, and we'll stretch that money a very, very long way. I said, Open Orphan, we IPO'd, we raised just over 6 million in 2019. We did one very small fundraise, and today Open Orphan is literally printing money that is close to 40 million starting in the bank, and it's making 1.5 million EBITDA nearly every month. So that's the target we're following. I say it was a fantastic first day. Somebody just corrected me and texted in. I say we're up 11.5%. He said, Cathal, you can't do your sums. The share price, we opened at 10p, it finished at 11.25, so it's 12.5%. But being honest with you, we're not in this for 10 or 12% uplift. I said to everybody, we're planning, if it goes at all to plan, to double the share price at least this year, if not triple it within the next 12 months. So we see lots of upside in the weeks, months, and years ahead. We'll hand over to questions now, and quite a few have been coming in. Quite a few have come in advance. I've got them printed out here, and I've also got my colleague Richard here is handing me questions that have come in online, and say we're actually still can't believe it. We're pushing close to 300 investors online. So God knows what you all do in a wet Monday evening and listen to us. But yeah, hopefully it's an exciting story we've got to tell. Oops, first question's for myself. A question for Cathal Friel from Paul. Cathal, are you happy with the share price today? Well, I think 12.5% in one day. I said people only invest in these small companies, small cap, to get that 2, 3, 4, 5. Kingspan in Ireland is a 50x uplift. Paddy Power is a 50. So you don't invest in them for 10, 12%. You invest in them one day. If we did 12.5% every day would be great. But yeah, no, really happy. I think the first day trading is very important. People look back and different shares. How did you trade in the first day? They kind of forget about the other days. The trading I really want to know is where we'll end up the year. I've said we're going to double or triple the share price by Christmas. So I have a little bottle here to open if we hit those targets. Next question is one for Aiden from Brian. Brian asked, Aiden, how optimistic are you that you're going to get the results from those Alstrom assets that you're being shown us here tonight?
Thanks for the question. Yeah, I'm actually very optimistic, and we have a team on the ground who are very excited about what they're finding. This project has never really been fully assessed. It was a non-core project for the previous operator. So from the day we started working here, we saw the potential, and we've followed through now with a new exploration model, and we are successfully finding new mineralization by following altered and mineralized shear zones. So we're looking for that biotite magnetite alteration that we find around the rare earths mineralization, and we have a team now that really have zoned in and know exactly what to look for. So we've seen some very good stuff, and I'm very positive actually that we'll have some very good results.
Aiden, thanks for that. Another question that I think Jack may have already answered it, came in before the presentation. We thought we'd print them off, but I'll run it by Jack again. Jack, what other assets have you in the pipeline, and what ones are you particularly excited about?
Yeah, thanks, Hal. So look, yeah, I'll touch on that again. I think I mentioned the range of post-IPO M&A opportunities that we're currently actively engaging with, and it's across the entire green economy space, so wind, solar, rehabilitation projects, and more. I suppose a few that we would like to maybe give you a bit of color on would be a critical mine and processing facility in Central Europe that's currently in administration, and we feel like we can acquire it for a fraction of the capital that's been invested. So again, a huge opportunity. And then there's also an interesting rehabilitation project we're looking at in Western Europe. So this is an old mine. It's similar tailings recycling to Jubilee Metals for some of you that will know that. So again, they're the types of projects we're looking at. But we have lots in the pipeline, and I think, as Carl said, the goal is to do 1-2 deals pretty quickly to hopefully complement the hugely exciting Ulster rare earth asset we have. So look, we expect to keep everyone updated as these things progress in the coming weeks and months.
Thank you, Jack. Question just in here. We have to read some of them as they come in and put ourselves on the hop. A question's just come in literally from Tim. Cathal, it sounds like EGT is really a mining company. How is it a green economy transition company if it's a mining? Well, Tim, thank you very much for your question. And I'm at pains to answer that one. We are not a mining company. Small mining companies do one thing: they lose a lot of money. Our job, we have absolutely some mining assets, but they're rare earths assets primarily. And as we said, those wind turbines over our shoulder here and all the presentations need 0.5 ton for the onshore ones and several ton of rare earths. Only place in the world those rare earths are currently coming from China. We know what happened during the pandemic, PPE. We know China has said it. They may cut off the rare earth supply. So imagine no wind turbines. So yes, we have some mining assets, but the assets, I know Jack is really excited for the big ones. Some of the smaller assets, the ones I'm really, I think, managing an awful lot of bogs and Shrekland where I grew up. It's very capital light. We're generating enormous carbon credits. So I think managing rewilding, rewetting the bogs in the northwest coast of Ireland is as far from mining as you can get. And also the consolidation of the e-waste in Europe. It's a mom and pop store. That's mining. I think we're all gold miners when we go home. I think every night you go home, have a look how many old phones have you, how many old monitors, have a look how many flat screen TVs or old things. You have a mini gold mine in your back garden. Our job would be to consolidate that in Europe, and I think we can make an enormous amount of money for our shareholders, and that's so capital light. Moving swiftly on, question for Aiden from Emily. You spoke at length, Aiden, about Ulster, but what level of financial commitments do you also have on those other assets you talked about that are obviously non-core?
Okay, yeah. So on the non-core assets, such as the Pajala graphite and copper project in North Sweden, and then the Germany projects, we've actually done soil sampling, mapping, prospecting, and identified drill targets. So our goal really is to bring in a partner to sort of get value for those back for the company. So we have very little or no committed spend on those moving forward. Our aim is to partner on those, focus on Ulster, advancing that to the point of bringing in a serious partner, and then that will allow us to focus as well on the M&A opportunities, which is really what this company is about.
Aiden, thanks very much. So hopefully we can reassure that, as in the screen, the flexible financial one. I'm always the largest shareholder. It's my hard-earned cash. It's your hard-earned cash. We don't like committing to anything till we know. So it's a bit of a suck and see approach to some of our projects. And that's, look, small cap companies should spend, test. We don't go and waste your money or my money without being pretty sure of a result. Next question from Ben. Just trying to read it here. It's actually very small print. Oh, yes. Ben, yeah, I need to get better glasses, I think. But anyway, Ben's question is for Cathal. Cathal, you say you would generate revenues in year one. How the heck I shouldn't probably say it, but he says, how the heck are you going to do that? Look, very simple. We are traders. Conventional small cap mining companies never generate revenues. Some of our assets, we will trade them. Let's say we already have approaches in the past couple of weeks from sovereign wealth funds who have heard European green transitions up and running. There wasn't room for them in the IPO. We might have blown our IPO out of the water. Certain assets potentially the German ones, maybe the graphite ones. We're good at bolting portfolios together. And as we go forward, I have a stated objective. One, double the share price as quick as we can, maybe triple it within the year. But two, make sure we have revenue in year one. And that revenue will come from trading some of our assets. And goal number two, EBITDA and profits in year two. We're a small company. We're not here to burn cash. And that's where we're going to stick to. Next question from Edward. Now you've raised the funds, do you have any acquisitions lined up in the short term? Well, Edward, I think it's very clear at the moment. Jack has come across, I've come across, we're not going to be hanging around. We have Aiden and the team are on the ground in Sweden, busy working on existing assets, and you will see announcements as and when. But our model is built to do acquisitions. Every one of my 4 previous IPOs, in the first weeks and months, we did acquisitions. That is the plan here. Otherwise, we're just burning your cash and my cash sitting around. Next question from Adam. What is the short and medium term goals and how can you compare these against KPIs? And apologies to Adam in advance, I hate the words KPIs because I never know what all these K and the P's and I's really mean. We've simple goals. I think I've copied them, said them. Our goal is to make shareholders money. That's the role of small cap companies. We have another goal. We are a very ESG focused company, so we've got to be good custodians. A huge amount of our investors are my very young kids. They love the green economy. So we've got to come across the goals with there. But the real goal is, can we double or triple the share price in a relatively short period in time? Next goal, can we get cash in the first year? And the second goal, or I think probably the fourth goal on that list, is EBITDA and profits in the second year. So that's really, we really don't go into doing KPIs and line things. I would just say simple goals, get them, deliver them. We are a small cap company. We're here to move fast and not break things. We're here to grow the company really, really fast. Some more questions. A question from Phil, just listening to your presentation tonight. It's fascinating. Thank you, Phil. I almost wrote this myself. And I'm delighted to be a shareholder. I bought the shares this morning as open, and already I'm up a substantial sum. How long should I hold them? And what's your suggestions? Unfortunately, Phil, I'm not a stockbroker. I used to be in a previous life. That's how I know I put these together. I think we've told people to come in and we will try and double or triple your money, but never be afraid to take profits. That's what I've always said go along. So, Phil, I'm not allowed to guide you. I'm delighted you bought your shares. I'm delighted you money, but we really advocate people not to be trading in and out. Hold them for a period in time, and hopefully we'll make you substantially more money than the 12.5% we made you today. A question from Jack from Andrew. Jack, I'm a long-term shareholder in Open Orphan, now known as HVivo, and I know from the roadshow, which I've been fortunate enough to participate in, because now I'm designated as a high net worth investor, that you have been very involved in the finance function in HVivo and Poolbag. Do you think you can apply the skills you've learned in HVivo and Poolbag now to European Green Metals, or formerly now as European Green Transitions?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as correct, I've been working very closely with the CFOs of Poolbag and HVivo over the last 3 years. I suppose the key areas and key learnings I've had from those businesses that we're looking to, I suppose, replicate with European Green Transition are keeping a low G&A, so a capital light business. So, for instance, in European Green Transition, we only have 3 full-time staff. So that's, we can actually run these public companies with a really, really low head count, and I think that's really important. Maintaining as much flexibility as possible and being able to adapt to the market and having a very low committed spend. And I think, as Aiden mentioned, we have very low committed costs, and we're able to move as the market demands, and as we bring in new, more exciting assets, we're able to reallocate funds to ultimately deliver the highest value to shareholders. News flow is always a key consideration, and actually generating significant news flow and engaging with shareholders. And how do we do that? I think across Poolbag and a few other companies, the multiple shots on goal approach has really resonated, and that's why we're looking to bring in a number of other assets to complement our also rare earth asset. And then ultimately, I think the last point is getting to that revenue stage, and then cash and EBITDA profitability, and they're key metrics that we're really looking at getting to, as Cathal said. So they're sort of the key things, key learnings that I've had from those companies, and hopefully we can replicate them in European Green Transition.
Jack, thank you very much for that. Look, we've quite a lot more questions here, but we did say we were going to stick to the 45 minutes. So we're now just past 45 minutes. We'll take one last question here, and it's from Benjamin. And he says, Cathal, listen to your presentation here tonight and just type it on the fly. You appear to have several full-time jobs. How are you going to manage pool bag and European green at the same time? So, Benjamin, I'm glad you asked that. I am turning 60 this year. The benefit I've got lots of younger guys, such as Jack, who is almost half my age, and Aiden, not quite half my age, and they'll do the hard work. Yes, I have stepped up recently, executive chairman in pool bag. That was the one share we didn't put in the front deck. That is work in progress. hVivo, it had been up 10x, it's still up 6x from my IPO. So I have been selling hVivo shares in the past month, but I've made clear to the market, I've stepped in as executive chairman of pool bag. It is only marginally above the IPO. I know pharma stocks are done. I have been increasing my stake. This is public information in pool bag, and I've said I'll be executive chairman. Under AIM rules, you're only allowed to be 2 chairmans, and so I'm chairman of hVivo, but that's a very hands-off project. Mo Khan, we're probably the world's greatest CRO, CEO. That's Mo. I'm the world's greatest CFO in a CRO, Stephen Pinkerton. So hVivo is almost work in progress, but very light touch. Pool bag, absolutely. We've got to get it on to NASDAQ this year. That will be 50% of my time. And the other 50% of my 18-hour days is actually European green. I have to make success. I originally had hoped to have the chairman role, but under the AIM Stock Exchange, you only have 2 chairs and 1 non-exec. So, she knows my title officially is co-founder and non-exec, but I'll be very, very opposite now. I'll be very hands-on, 50% of my time, Benjamin, in European green, and 50% of my time in pool bag. And when pool bag is doubled or tripled, I then can relax. And I think lots of people, some of them in the call tonight, backed me in pool bag. That is work in progress. Pool bag's mistake is we probably started with too high of a market cap day one. So hence, European green, we've gone back to the original model, start with a very low market cap. We are locked up. Everybody pre-IPO have their shares locked up for 3 years. So we're not going anywhere for 3 years. And we're really targeting how we can now double or triple that European green. So Benjamin, yes, I'm managing 2 roles, but I have fantastic people around me who do the real job is find the CEOs such as Aiden, the CFOs such as Jack, and guide them and direct them. And that's not that hard. I can enjoy it. This is my 5th time round, so hopefully each time it gets a little easier. Conscious, we're now on 47 minutes, 48 seconds. So this recording will be on our website tomorrow. If anybody wants it, can reach out. We can send a link to it as well. Feel free to go to our website and register for regular updates. As Jack said, there will be pretty regular updates. We are going to move fast, but we're not going to break things. We're going to build things. So thank you very much. Really appreciate those who invested in us, and those listening tonight. We'd love to see you become shareholders. We will hopefully promise to make you a decent bit more, a lot more than we did today at the 12.5%. So thank you very much. It's a wet Monday evening, and hopefully there are a few sunnier Monday evenings we can do presentations over the weeks and months ahead. So thank you very much, and we'll be in touch.